Welcome back, folks, for a new episode of Leaked. And today we'll cover the normal Tier 6 and Tier 7 Swedish Tank Destroyers that are coming in patch 9.17. So these vehicles are like traditional TDs. They focus on camouflage rating and speed and mobility to get into sniper positions, and using penetration and accuracy to deal the damage. So these vehicles are completely opposites of assault guns, which has a lot of armor, a lot of health, and large alpha to go brawling with large heavy tanks like the E100 or the Mouse. So you're not playing these vehicles like the Ferdinand, like the Jagdpanzer E100 or the T28s. You're playing these vehicles like the E25, the Hellcats, the Jagdpanzer IV, or the Waffenträgers. So these are camper vehicles in essence. So it's very much so like the UDES 03 at Tier 8, which we already covered, but it's a lot more Waffenträgery, if that's a term, than the actual Tier 6 and Tier 7 German counterparts. So the Nashorn has only 20% camouflage rating while stationary, so that's kinda bad compared to the Hellcats 37%. And the steering wheel is more of a low alpha vehicle with no armor, and it's huge. So these two vehicles are more like the Waffenträgers, like the Rheinmetall Borsig or the Waffenträger Panzer IV. So they have a lot of speed and camouflage rating than the actual Waffenträgers. Now you have the IKV 65 alternate number 2 at Tier 6. So you probably already saw the HD render of this vehicle. It's the Scion car of a tank. It has about 15mm of armor at the best. So it's about the same as an SUV nowadays. It's a car with a 90mm gun. So that's very funny. And you have the IKV 90 Type B. And this is more of a matchbox, or taking a FE304 and squishing it into a flat pancake of a tank. So yeah, very exciting, but these two vehicles have absolutely no armor. None whatsoever, but they have amazing accuracy, amazing penetration. So yeah, these are the Camperinos, the Camperoos, if you will. But let's take a look at the IKV 65 alternate number 2. So funny enough, these two vehicles are actually tied together, and they're competing designs for a contract by the Swedish Army. So they're competing against each other. The IKV 65 alternate number 2 was designed by Landsverk, whereas the IKV 90 Type B was designed by Bofors. So these are competing companies for the contract. And this is the second design for the Landsverk version. So it looks a lot like a Scion car of a vehicle. They did highly favor this tank, but they lost the contract to Hägglunds because the Hägglunds, or the designs from Hägglunds, were focused on interchangeable parts with the PBV 302 APC. So yeah, lost the contract. But interesting design. They have a very detailed scale model built. So here you can see the vehicle, but it was a paper tank or wooden model, so doesn't really count as actual tank, built tank. So it's a paper tank. And here is the IKV 90 Type B. So this was the Bofors design, the second design. They have 5 of them. But as you can see, it looks a lot like the S-Tank. So Bofors were designing this vehicle alongside the S-Tank. And it shares a lot of components and design features from the S-Tank. But it's still lost to Hägglunds designs of the IKV 91, which is the UDES 13. But yeah, complex history. So here you can see it's a light SPG vehicle designed to support the infantry, assaulting vehicles like T54s or 55s with high penetration, high explosive high explosive anti-tank shells, and using high explosives on bunkers or fortifications. So these are the main purpose of these vehicles. No armor whatsoever. But here you can see the Landsverk designs of the IKV 65. So 5 different proposals. The first 4 looks mostly the same. So with a few difference in the hull shape and in the hull rear, but it looks like the Scion car that you already saw. So take a quicker, closer look. But yeah, it's more conventional, like traditional tank destroyers, except no armor. But it's like the Yak Panzer IV or any other TDs at this time. So superstructure, and based on the chassis, based on the original, I think it was the M42 suspension. But yeah, it looks pretty much the same for the first 4 of the design. And the last one looks more of a normal tank, or tank with a turret. So that's the 5 different Landsverk proposal. But here you have the model of the vehicle. So they built a model, and this was like 165 or something, but it's a pretty cute, detailed model of the vehicle. So it's a car. It's a Scion car. I love it. Amazing looking car. So here is the testing of the gun elevation of the vehicle. So here you can see it actually has some decent elevation to go hull down or hull up. Well, hull up is not a term, Sam, but you know what I mean. So on a reverse slope, you can actually point the gun upwards. But here you can see the original competitions for the IKV-NY project. So the IKV-NY project is the group of projects to compete for the contract to build the next IKV for the Swedish Army. So here are the Landsverk proposals. That's the Scion cars that you already saw. And here are the Bofors proposals. So it looks a little bit more like the S-Tank based on their project with the S-Tank. And here are the winner, the Hägglunds proposals for the vehicle. So they like the version number 5, I believe. They changed the turret around. So that's the modified turret right here. So they tweaked the turret, they tweaked the gun, and that became the UDES-13, which later became the IKV-91. That's in real life. So that's the fancy, complex competition designs for the next IKV in the 1960s for the Swedish Army. So the more you know, but a lot of the designs are very interesting, such as the IKV-120 vehicle right here that we already talked about. So this is like a E25 with 120 millimeter. So insane. Crazy, right? But that's the general history in a nutshell for the IKVs during the middle of the 1960s. So here are the main models for the Scion car. You probably already saw the HD renders of this vehicle. So imagine a Hellcat. Now imagine it doesn't have a turret, but as a car. So it looks a lot like the mail trucks in United States. If you live in the US, it looks like a mail truck, or it looks like a Scion car from Scion. So here are the in-game screenshots. Now I took my Hellcat and drove right next to the barrel of the building, so you can take a good comparison, eyeballing it, but it's smaller than the Hellcat, a little bit, but yeah, it's a super sneaky vehicle. And here are the HD renders that you already probably saw. So it's a pretty looking tank, very pretty. But we don't really need to zoom in, right? But yeah, it's a Hellcat without a turret. It has a 90mm with a borer evacuator or a fume extractor. That's very fancy. Doesn't have a muzzle brake. I don't think it needs one, but yeah, still very pretty. The periscope is very fancy too. So here are the models for the IKV-90 Type B. So this is a paper tank. Looks like a squished FE304. Has the same or better 90mm that's on the IKV-65 alternate number 2. So here are the in-game screenshots. So as you can see, it's a flat, very flat vehicle with a small superstructure in the back. So this is where the fighting compartments, I believe this is a loader compartment right here. This is the commander. There's a driver. and there may be a radio operator right here. I don't know, but it should be a 3 to 4 man crew for this vehicle. But it's very small. So here are the in-game comparison screenshot right next to a truck. So I have my friend Thunder. He's a normal platoon mate of mine. So we drove right next to a truck, and yeah, it's a pretty small size comparing it, right? So it's about the same size as the E25. There's the 41 Bulldog, the M41 German Bulldog, Black Bulldog, and yeah, it's a small vehicle, very small. So pretty excited. But here are the collision models for the 65 alternate number 2. So the maximum armor is 15. 25 is for the gun, but that doesn't count. So yeah, no armor. None whatsoever. So don't get hit. Don't even touch anything. You'll get damaged super easily. So yeah, just don't touch anything. Don't get spotted. Yeah, it's a normal car, normal Scion car. You're driving it with a 90mm gun. So pretend that it's a normal car, and yeah, you should be fine. So how thick is the actual chassis of a normal car, like a SUV or, I don't know, a T150? The truck, not the actual F-150. I said the T150. The F-150 truck, the Ford truck. So how thick is the actual chassis of those vehicles? It's like 10 millimeters. And the penetration of an 8K round, the 7.62 by 39, is about 6 millimeters at 300 meters range. So you could actually penetrate these vehicles if you're shooting like 10 meters or point blank into the hull. So yeah, no armor whatsoever. There's no round mantlet as well, so you cannot troll a few shots by the mantlet eating the shell. You could with the tracks against shaped charges like high explosive anti-tank, but nobody's going to use high explosive anti-tank on you. That's absurd. So there's no further need of investigating the armor. There's none. So you could get trolled by shooting the periscope, but just shoot the normal hull. Why would you shoot the periscope? It's not even a weak spot. And here are the collision models for the 90 Type B. So as you can see, still no armor. The best is 18mm, but that's only near the superstructure right here. So no armor. It's about 15 for the rest. So don't get hit, or 12. So no round mantlet for the small gun right here, right port right here. But it's a good sloping on the upper plate. It's about 10 millimeters. So yeah, no further need of investigation. These two vehicles have no armor whatsoever. And funny enough, the spare track links on the back of the hull could actually double the armor. That's how thick, or how not thick, the hull armor is. The spare track link is actually the double of the whole entire thickness of the hull. Insane. So here are the main stats for the 65 alternate number 2. It's going to be a tier 6 normal Swedish Tank Destroyer. Has a crew of 4, so commander, gunner, loader, and driver. So will cost you 950,000 credits, so slightly below 1 million. Has 580 health, so below average, way below average, but 10 more than the Hellcat. Has 215 horsepower engine, weighs about 11 tons. So yeah, horsepower per ton ratio is not that bad, about 20, but it's not crazy good as the Hellcat. The Hellcat has like 27 or something, but yeah, it's alright. Top speed of 60 kilometers per hour. Reverse is 20, so very good. Hull traverse is average, 32. Turret traverse is 27.1. So that's for the gun. That's for turning the gun around. So still pretty good. Terrain resistance is above average for hard and medium, but slightly below average for soft. So try not to go into swamps, but it's not that big of a problem with the horsepower per ton ratio, so it's alright. View range is low, so not as good as the Hellcat. Don't go spot for yourself, only 350 meters. Radio range is 615, So, I mean, anything above 600 is alright with me, so that's alright. Camouflage, while stationary, is 40.5%. So this means it reduced the opponent's view range without any obstructions by 40.5%. So if your opponent has, say, 400 meters of view range, this will cut down their view range by 180, 160. My math sucks, so about 180-ish. So that's very good, but you have to include camouflage nets and crew training for even better camouflage rating. But the Hellcat has 37, so this is 3.5% better. So, very nice. Hull armor is 50 in the front, 10 at the sides, 10 at the rear. No armor. There's a superstructure, but that's the same armor, so blah. Has a 90mm gun, has 40 rounds, so decent. I mean, it's better than the 30 rounds on the Hellcat for the same caliber of a gun, so that's actually quite good. 33.33% more than the Hellcat, which is very good. Penetration for the AP shell is outstanding, 195mm at tier 6. This could easily penetrate tier 8s, most tier 8s reliably. If it cannot, the gold shell, the high explosive anti-tank shell, is 270. Holy crap. That's like tier 9, tier 10 levels of penetration, alright? You can penetrate tier 10s with that penetration. So, it's scary. You can face any tier 8s without any problem whatsoever. You can even shoot the mantlet, but that's space armor, so don't shoot the mantlet. What the hell am I talking about? You can shoot the turret of stuff like the Type 59 and just like screw it. I can penetrate your turret, doesn't matter. So yeah, gold shell is insanely good at penetrating. High explosive is average, but alpha is kinda low, 240, but it's a 90mm gun, so it's compared to stuff like the derp gun, the D25T for the SU-100, so that's 390 alpha. You cannot compare with that, but you know, this thing has the accuracy and the penetration against the derp shell, so yeah, it's good. Rate of fire is about 8 rounds per minute. Has a very good DPM, average DPM, but still very good for the penetration, about 1900. So reloads every 7.67 seconds. You can reduce that to 7.2 or so with a gun rammer and vents, but you probably would use gun rammer, binoculars, and camouflage net. Accuracy is outstanding, 0.307. That's the same as the 88, the long barrel 88 L71 that's on the Nashorn. So amazing penetration for tier 6 vehicle and accuracy. Aim time is also good, 1.82 seconds, gun depression of 10 degrees, elevation of 12 degrees. So here are the in-game or captured screenshot of the stats. So take a notice of all the stuff right here, but take a good notice of the accuracy. So superb, and the camouflage net or camo rating without the camouflage net is already insane. So add the camouflage net and just insane value, crazy value. But also notice that the gun horizontal arc is very good. It's 30 degrees, which means it should be 15 degrees to each side. So you have 15 degrees to the left and 15 degrees to the right. So this is actually pretty good, very comfortable to shoot without moving the hull. So unlike vehicles like the ARL 39, which has only 14 degrees of gun arc, this has the double, more than double the amount. So if you played the ARL 39 or Sturdy Mill, the gun arcs on those vehicles are garbage. You have to move the hull continuously to get into new targets or shoot at new targets. So gun arc is very good, but health is low, weight is low. So yeah, don't touch stuff. You can kill super easily. But you do have a decent stock gun. The stock gun has 180mm of penetration. Yeah, that's even better than some of the top guns on tier 6 TDs. So the stock gun makes this vehicle super easy to grind for the top gun or the other engines and other stuff. So very good. And here are the main stats for the IKV 90 Type B. So it's going to be a tier 7 normal Swedish tank destroyer. Should have a crew of 4, but the stats was blocked with garbage or other stuff. So I did not see how many crews there are going to be, but should be around 4. Will cost 1.4 million credits, so about the average. Hit points, 800 for tier 7. Below average, yep, still, but not as bad. I mean, the average is around 900, so it's alright. Engine power is 310, weighs about 14 tons, so it's even better. Horsepower per ton ratio of 22.52. Top speed of 65 kilometers per hour, reverse of 20, so very good. Hull traverse is still average, 30 degrees per second. Turret traverse for the gun, that's the moving of the gun, is only 20 degrees per second, but it's alright. Terrain resistance is average, other than the medium, which is slightly below average, but still good enough compared to the horsepower per ton ratio, so still okay. And view range is the same as the tier 6. So that's kind of bad, but the average is 360, so you still need some sort of eyes to spot for you, but it's alright. Radio range is still the same, 615. Camo, while stationary, is only 38.7. And I say that while 38.7, it's not that bad. It's actually amazing, but surprisingly, the tier 6 Scion car has more camo rating than this vehicle. What? That does not make sense, but whatever. I guess it's a game balance issue. If it's too sneaky, it's super OP then. Hull armor is 15 at the front, 12 at the sides, and 10 at the rear. No turret, no, armor. Only a superstructure, but no armor whatsoever. Has a 90mm gun, 48 rounds, so average. Fires AP, high explosive anti-tank, and high explosive. So even better penetration now, 223mm, and not as good high explosive anti-tank shell, but still relatively solid, 260. Now this is an auto-loading box tank. So it has 3 rounds in the autoloader. It does 240 alpha per shell. That's 720 alpha in the whole clip. Alright, so in 3 seconds, it takes 1.5 seconds between each shell. So in 3 seconds, you unload 720 alpha. Now this is scary because it's a tier 7. You're shooting at stuff like tier 5s, like Sherman tanks. You melt them in 2 rounds. You have 1 more round to spare after you shoot them twice. Holy crap, that's insane. So rate of fire is actually pretty good for autoloader, about 10 rounds. DPM is 2,355 for the autoloader. That's insane. That's actually great. Burst damage and DPM, but takes about 15.34 seconds to reload. Accuracy is not as good, so 0.364. Aim time is 2.4 seconds. Gun depression of 10 degrees. Likely elevation of 15 degrees. Now, this is for the autoloader. They did not give the stats for the single shot. There's going to be a single shot version of this gun, so I'm presuming even better accuracy or aim time and even better DPM. So this thing is, or potentially could be, super scary based on the weapon you use on it, but it's a box tank. It's already funny enough, so it gets a plus. So here are the screenshot of the stats. So as you can see, even with the autoloader equipped, super high DPM, high penetration. Accuracy is below average, but it's an autoloader, so takes 2.4 seconds to aim. So between each shell, you will not be fully aimed based on the 1.5 seconds of intershell reload, but that's alright. So yeah, it's sneaky, but not as sneaky as the tier 6. So what the frick? That's weird. But it has 40 degrees of gun arc, horizontal gun arc. So that's even better than the tier 6. It's super comfortable. Now, the M56 Scorpion has 60 degrees of horizontal gun arc. So that's the best. That's one of the best, unlike the ARL 39 or steering mill. So this is a comfortable, very comfortable gun arc, which you don't have to move your hull to readjust to targets most of the time. So it's like the M56 Scorpion or the FE215B 183. So very comfortable. And high penetration too. So yeah, it gets a plus. Doesn't weigh much. Only weighs about 14 tons with no armor. So here are the final thoughts and opinions about the Scion car. So it's a car with a 90mm attached. It's ridiculous looking. It's stupid. Very special. And that's what makes this vehicle. So the more stupid it looks, the more special it is. So it gets a big 2 thumbs up from me. But it's very similar to the Toaster, the Panzer Fagerstel 4C, whatever you call it, at tier 5. But it's a lot more sneaky than the Toaster. So penetration's great, top speed, horsepower per ton ratio, horizontal gun arc, gun depression, and aim time all are good. But it has amazing accuracy and penetration, especially the gold shell, the high explosive anti-tank, and the camouflage rating. So this vehicle is scary. Now it has low health to counterbalance the amazingness. View range is not as good, no armor whatsoever. Gun elevation could be a problem, and it's super light, featherweight, and soft terrain resistance could be a little bit better, but you're asking a little bit too much. So it's basically a Nashorn that trades about 500 DPM and 8mm of penetration for about 20 kilometers per hour top speed and 7 horsepower per ton ratio and 20% more camouflage rating. This thing is more Waffenträger-y than the actual vehicle from the Waffenträger line. What? It's savagely scary of a gold shell too. So 270mm of high explosive anti-tank shell. It fears no tier 8. None. It fears no tier 10s even, but you're not going to face tier 10s, so yeah, this shell is scary. Does require some good scouting and scapegoats to scout, so you cannot do the double duty like the Hellcat or the Jackson Slugger. So yeah, it does have 3.5% better camo than the Hellcat while stationary, and it has a fixed mounted gun but very comfortable 30 degrees arc. So 15 to the left, 15 to the right, and it's a lot better than the ARL 34, which has only 14, so it's double, more than double. Great 10 degrees of gun depression also helps to haul down, but be careful about the reverse ramps or reverse slopes, which the 12 degrees of elevation might be a problem, but don't touch anybody. No, don't get spotted. If you do get spotted, don't stay still. You'll get nuked from orbit. So this thing has only 11 tons of weight with no armor. If you get touched by something like a ramming KV-5, you're toast. You're super toast, but it's a car. It's a car with a 90mm gun. What did you expect? So is it worth it? If this vehicle has the Nashorn's 2.4 thousand DPM, this will be insanely good, but 1.9 is not that bad, so it's still amazing. So it's a camperino, camper di dalu, whatever. So you camp your ass off with this vehicle. So it's like traditional tank destroyers. Annoying to play against, camping the bottom left or top left of the Prokhorovka map all day long. So yep, it's a definite keep if you like tank destroyers, which camps a lot, or Scion cars for all that matter. But it's a very solid 1 million credits spent, so highly recommended from me. And here are the final thoughts about the IKV 90 Type B. So it's going to be a flat FV304 with a 90mm gun. So it's stupid looking too, but it's not as stupid as the Scion car, but it's still pretty special. Has the penetration, the top speed, the horsepower per ton ratio, and the amazing 40 degrees of gun arc for the horizontal. And gun depression is also good, able to mount an autoloader with 720 damage per clip. That's scary. It has low health, low view range, no armor, still a featherweight, and the Alpha is to a small degree not as adequate for tier 7s, so it's alright, but you know what, yeah, it's going as the same with the UDES 03 at tier 8. So no stats were leaked for the single shot version of the 90mm, so we cannot talk about the accuracy, we cannot talk about the aim time or the DPM, but it should be a little bit better. But it clips out 720 alpha in 3 seconds, and that's scary. That's really scary. That's like the 250mm penetration heat shell from a SU-152. So if you get caught off guard, that's 700 alpha erased from your health pool. Now this is tier 7. It could face tier 5s with the likes of Sherman tanks, likes of T-34s or KV-1s. This thing instantly kills those vehicles in one burst. I mean, when you play the ISU-152 with the BL-10, holy crap, you melt tier 6s like a Sherman tank in one shot. This melts even more. So amazing penetration for a tier 7, other than the Sturdy Mill or the AMX AC 46, but nobody plays the AMX, so nobody plays the Sturdy Mill as well, so nobody cares. Very similar characteristics to a M56 Scorpion, so nearly the same camo, penetration, health, terrain resistance, view range, radio, weight, or armor. So this is basically the Swedish T56 Scorpion. So this vehicle has better DPM, a lot better DPM, and 20 kilometers per hour top speed, and somewhat more armor, quote unquote, than the Scorpion. The Scorpion has better horsepower per ton ratio, and better gun arc, and better degrees of traverse for the hull, but it's a toss-up, so give or take. But is it worth it? Yes, even with the mediocre accuracy and aim time for the autoloader, it's still pretty good. But could it fit a gun rammer with the autoloader? If it could, it's insane. So it's like the 59-16 scenario or the Cheery scenario, which those vehicles have autoloaders as the top gun, but they can also fit a gun rammer. So could you fit a medium caliber gun rammer to this autoloader? If you could, that's like 2,500 DPM. Oh god. So yeah, scary. So very likely that the single shot will have better accuracy, better aim time, better DPM as well. And 720 alpha, it's scary good. So keep it. It's surprising that a tier 6 Scion car has better camo than this thing. But fun fact, but it's a definite keeper as well. So very close to being the E25 in size. But it does face tier 9s. You have pretty good penetration as well, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, those are the tier 6 and tier 7 Swedish Tank Destroyers. So super hyped. I mean, the tier 6 is good, tier 7 is good, tier 8 is amazing, tier 9 is buffed because they just released the collision models. So it looks a little bit more like the tier 10, but without the cage armor or the dozer track or dozer blades on the bottom of the plate, but it's still pretty good. And tier 10 is obviously the S tank, so the whole line is very interesting. But here is a quick quirky observation from me. So all unorthodox or unconventional designs are very fun to do. So vehicles like the OIs, the Japanese heavy tanks, I enjoy the crap out of doing the leak videos for the Japanese heavies. And that's why I love doing these vehicles, because they look stupid. They look ridiculously, awkward or not even pretty by all standards. So vehicles like the KV-2, it's a box turret. Only the Russians could think of something stupid, putting a box turret and putting 152mm in it and call it a heavy tank. Sure, fuck it. Or you have the TOG-2, stupid looking, but it's amazing to play with. It's not that good, but it's fun. You have the T49, which is a 152 on a freaking light tank or bulldog. Oh, and my first tier 10 is the Waffen Trigger off E100. And the first match I played, is using the 150, firing all high explosives. Stupid. But in armor warfare, you have the same kind of concept too. I mean, all the main battle tanks are relatively the same. The Leopard 2, the Abrams, it's about the same thing. Or the Challenger. I mean, it's main battle tanks, whatever. But you have something like the Terminator 2. And funny enough, only the Russians could actually do something stupid. So they put two 30mm autocannons with four 130mm rockets or rocket pods onto a T-72 chassis, putting ERAs and applique armor on it. And there you go. It's so brutish. It's so Mad Maxery, if that's a term, or, you know, rustic or caveman-esque of a tank. It's awesome. So these vehicles are stupid looking, but they're very interesting. Very interesting, like the Japanese heavies. So there you go, folks. The Tier 6 and the Tier 7 Swedish Tank Destroyers. So prepare to be camped on super hard. Or you can do the camping yourself. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.